Hi, today I want to tell you a story about encouragement. But first I want to share a few verses about encouragement. 1 Thessalonians 5 and verse 11 says, "Therefore encourage one another and build one another up." Ephesians 4:29 says, "Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear." 1 Thessalonians 5:14 says, "Encourage the faint-hearted, help the weak, be patient with them all." Romans 14 and 19 says, "So then, let us pursue what makes for peace and for mutual upbuilding." And Romans 15 and 2 says, "Let each of us please his neighbor for his good, to build him up." 3 weeks ago, my wife Carol and I went hiking up in the mountains above Santa Fe. We began at the Aspen Vista trailhead, and we hiked up to Aspen Peak. Well, the trail starts at an altitude of 9,900 feet, and then the peak is at 11,250 feet. I think the difficulty level is probably considered moderate, with a few places considered difficult in the way that they rank things. As we were climbing, I was thinking of the many parallels between hiking up a mountain and the Christian walk. And Brother Dick Shaw did a devotional kind of along those lines a while back, and I don't want to repeat the things that he said in that excellent devo. But I did want to share something very encouraging that happened on this particular hike. So the hike is mostly uphill, so you have the strain of going uphill. But with each step, you're getting farther and farther along, and higher up, and seeing more and more beauty. There were these little tiny flowers that looked so pretty as we began. And every now and then you'd see a group of 2 or 3 blooms. And as we got higher up, we'd see them more often. And the groups of flowers would no longer be just a couple of blooms, but like whole bouquets of flowers. And about halfway up the trail, there's this big meadow, and these little white flowers were all scattered around throughout the meadow, all over the place. The aspen leaves were turning gold, and it made for beautiful scenery. The gold leaves on the trail made me think of the streets of gold. Well, as I mentioned, the hike is nearly constantly uphill. In a few places, it's even quite steep. We tried this same trail last fall, though a little bit later in the year. On that trip, turns out we had gotten close to the end, but we didn't know how close we were. And there was snow on the trail that day, and with the steep rocky path, we had decided to turn back. But this time, on this hike, when we were close to where we had turned back before, we met a man and a woman on the trail who were coming back down. And they encouraged us. "You're almost there," the man said. "You're maybe 15 minutes from the top." And the woman said, "It gets really rough near the end, but I'm so glad we kept going. It is really worth it when you get to the top." The whole conversation with them lasted much less than a minute. A few seconds, really. But we felt very encouraged by their comments, and we found the strength to carry on. The Christian walk is uphill. It's difficult to keep going, and you'll sometimes want to turn back. But when you compare eternity to our brief walk here, you're almost there. And it's really worth it when you get to the top. So I want to encourage you to be encouraging. Take a few seconds with everyone you talk to be deliberately encouraging. The time you spend encouraging someone may well be just a few seconds, but your kind words will stick with them. You'll boost them up and help them to carry on in their walk with the Lord. Galatians 6 and verse 9 says, "And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up." The Apostle Paul said in 1 Corinthians 3 and verse 6, "I planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase." Well, if you pair that up with Proverbs 11 and verse 25, it says, "Whoever brings blessings will be enriched, and the one who waters will himself be watered." Psalm 46 and verse 1 says, "God is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble." Let's encourage everyone, every day.
Thank you for watching this devotional. We invite you to come and worship with us anytime that you are in Albuquerque. You will find a group of people who love Jesus, who are trying to live for Him, and who are glad that you stopped in to worship with us.